Hey moms, I've got about 8 movements here that I think are going to be helpful if you're having issues with diastasis. Now, if you have diastasis, it could be happening up above your belly button, between your ribs and your navel. It could be happening more your navel level, or it could be even lower. So finding that out more specific for you will help you customize what exercises you work on. But in general, these movements I'm going to show you are fairly safe for you if you have diastasis. Of course, you want to check with your healthcare provider or your PT or whoever is maybe giving you some rehab services. Otherwise, let's try these together. Okay, so let's get started. Remember, listen to your body. Do what you feel is safe. Hopefully you know how to check for diastasis. You might want to check on some of these movements here just to make sure that these particular positions aren't creating more of a separation of the abs for you. Otherwise, I want you to roll onto your side and then onto your back and find what feels like would be your neutral spine position. And if you don't know what that is, that's a position where your front pubic bone and your two pelvic bones are fairly level, okay? So you're in that position, your pelvis isn't tilted back. It's not tilted forward where you create an extra arch here, or a hyper arch. You might have a little bit of separation between the low back and the mat. That's normal. We have that curve and you actually want to keep it. So find whatever is neutral for you. And from there, we're actually going to tilt it back. So you're tilting the pelvis back and you're pressing your low back into the mat gently. And then you're going to come back to neutral. Today, we're just going to focus on that neutral position and then tilting back. I think with pregnancy and then often continuing the diastasis, a lot of us have this part down, that forward tilt. So today, we're going to tilt back. So I want you to focus on neutral here. Breathe in and then exhale, and when you exhale, you're going to tilt back. Inhale back to neutral. Exhale, tilt back. So it's a very small movement, but I'm going to give you a couple extra things to do. One, when you're tilting back, make sure your glutes aren't squeezing. You don't want that tilt back to come from just the glute squeezing and pushing, tilting the pelvis back. Next, I want you to time that tilt back with an exhale that's long. And so you're going to hold that tilt back as you continue to exhale. Breathe in. Exhale. Breathe in. Exhale. When you continue to exhale on those, hold those long exhales, make sure that your belly doesn't poof out here. One more time. Exhale. So we're engaging our really low, deep transverse abdominis muscles that help bring those abdominals back together. If you wanted to add something extra to it after that, you could add something, a block to squeeze between your knees. So next up after those, we're going to do 2 different styles of bridges. First up, we're going to do a traditional Pilates style bridge. We're going to inhale and give a little tilt forward, so creating that arch like I just spoke of. And then exhale, tilt back, which you just learned, and you're going to peel your spine up one bone at a time. You're going to stop up here, where your body is in a long diagonal. Double check that your ribs and pelvis are in line. So we're not flared up like this. We're not hyper arched. We're going to stop at a long diagonal, resting on the shoulder blades. Breathe in, and then exhale, melt down. Inhale, tilt forward. Exhale, rock back. Press up slowly. So again, we're trying to get as much segmental mobility as we can. Breathing in at the top, exhale, melting down. Inhale again at the bottom, exhale. Shoulders and chest open. Breathe in. Here you might want to check for diastasis here. Exhale, curling down. You can check again there. Let's do one more time. So next up, we're going to try a bridge a little bit differently. We're going to do a glute bridge with diastasis and your recovery. It's really important that we focus on strengthening the glutes. It's part of that whole system approach. So bring your feet in a little closer than with the Pilates bridge. And this may be tricky after doing this segmental mobility up and down. You're going to keep your back in neutral and squeeze your glutes and push up. Inhale, lower down. Exhale, squeeze them and push up. Inhale, you're going to release them as you're lowering down. Exhale, squeeze, push up. Inhale, release, lower down. Exhale, squeeze and push up. So again, you might want to check all along your front, all along the linea to see if that separation has increased at any point during that movement. And that would be something for you to be extra mindful of. Maybe go more slowly, maybe limit your range of motion so you can get that at least to not separate further during that particular exercise. And then we're going to do some dead bugs. So find that neutral for you again, level and level. Take a good breath in, and on an exhale, you're going to float a leg up to tabletop and place it down. Breathe in, exhale, float it up and place it down. Double check all of this with your leg. Double check the separation with your left leg moving and your right leg moving. See if you can make that exhale last the whole time you're lifting and lowering the leg. Remember, we want to keep those low transverse abdominis muscles on here too, so we're not wobbling side to side. I like to put my hands here just to confirm that I'm not wobbling. And also check time to time that you're not losing the control here and bulging out or doming. That dome would reflect a pressure management, a loss of pressure management that we would want to really work on a little bit more closely. Let's do one more time each side. Stability comes from here, not from gripping and holding it here, okay? Both feet down, we're gonna go side to side. So you're gonna let both knees go together off to one side. Take a breath in, stretching through the ribs here. Exhale, pull the knees through into the other side. You got it. You need to check several points along this movement. Check along your line there. So we're not going crazy big. We're not trying to touch the feet down to the floor. This is just a little bit of twist and load through the body. We're breathing in here and exhaling, using the obliques, using the abs to pull the knees over to the other side. So when I have my right legs to my right side, my left shoulder blade are still down. I'm exhaling through the whole movement. My legs are to the left, my right side shoulder and shoulder blade are down. Let's do one more time to each side. These feel really good. Feeling work here. And I'm going to bring it back to the center. I'm actually going to roll over onto my side. I'm going to go into a modified side plank lift. So I'm going to keep my knee bent here and use my forearm to help support me. I'm just going to lift up here. What I want you to check is that your foot is relatively in line with your knee, in line with your arm, okay? And of course, double check here. This is a different way to load the body, to load the system. So you want to make sure you're able to maintain this core at all times. So let's work on just holding here for a few breaths. Pulling in here. You can focus on breathing into your ribs. Underside is working really hard. Now lower down. Next up, I'm going to add some arm movements with it. So I'm going to push right back up. So I'm just going to take my arm and arc 3 times slowly. And lifting through that underside of my core. Make sure you breathe. I'm going to lower down. Last variation, going to lift that top leg. So let's press up. You have choice. If this is enough for you to just hold today, stick with that level. Just going to lift. Make sure when you lift that you don't dip down through your side here. And do 2 more. And 1 more. And all the way down and switch sides. So on my knee, foot, knee, arm. I'm going to lift, double check. Okay, you're working here. We're going to hold for 3 breaths. So chest is open. I'm not rotating back at any point. And lower down. Arm movements. Lift, arm. Hope you feel that lower part of your core under here. Get fired up. You're changing what's happening in your body when you add in those movements. And lower down. Last one. Remember you have options. Holding arms or adding the top leg. I'm going to lift and lift the top leg. 5 times. Again, not lifting so high that I start to dip in my side. You want to keep these muscles on, working hard and keeping stable. That's number 5, lower down. Whew, those are good. All right, next up, hands and knees. Okay, so hands are under the shoulders. Create a tunnel with your hands, kind of like an arch for the hands so your wrists are supported. And we're going to go from here from a neutral position, which first I want you to find it. You got to have a little bit of a dip in your back so we're not rounded through the back. So find that dip. Take a good breath in here, and on an exhale, you're going to tilt your pelvis under, like you're tucking your tail under. And then from there, you're going to lead with your tail just back up to neutral. So this is kind of like lying on your back and tilting the pelvis back, what we did at the start of this. Exhale, tilting it back. But you're allowing the spine to round as well. Inhale, come back to neutral. So I want you to take a second here, see if you can feel along your front, double check, try it with both hands, because sometimes just that simple weight shift of supporting with the left versus right hand can create a difference. So good breath in, exhale, tuck. You can check it there too. Inhale back to neutral. So we're just not going past neutral into that dipped position, because that actually is a stretch position for the abs. So depending on how bad your diastasis is, it can kind of increase that separation of the abs if we're not careful. Breathe in, exhale. So I'm leading this tuck with my abs and pelvis, not by pushing through my arms, not by squeezing through my glutes. Let's do 3 more times. Feels like a lot of low ab work here. I love it. And last one. All right, very nice. So sit back for a moment. Last movement. Going to be up and kneeling. We're going to do a thigh stretch exercise. Love to teach this in my Pilates class. Until kneeling, of course, it's a different position. Just double check yourself. Make sure everything's good to go. You can keep a hand here. You can keep a hand here if this is helpful to you to kind of feel. We're going to hinge back from our knees only so far as we don't change the spine. So I'm not going to hinge back and arch up. That would not be good. That would again be that arching, stretching position in the abs. So we don't want anything really to feel like it's moving here. You're going to feel it work. That's great. But you don't want to feel it move. So let's go back and come up. And you go with whatever range you can do and control. Long spine, abs in. Let's go. Give a little squeeze of the glutes intentionally if you find that helps you here today. Keep your shoulders as relaxed as you can. You're going to feel a lot on those front thighs, I know. They're stretching in one way and working in another. And if you add that pause in the back, they're even holding. So we're demanding a lot on the legs. To protect your core, you got to have everything going just right. Let's go 2 more times, guys. And 1 more. Good. So again, with that one, only hinge back so far as you can control it. If just getting and kneeling and going an inch is enough for you, go an inch. There's a whole lot to what goes into creating your diastasis, what could be limiting your recovery, and what you would need to do personally to make that happen. So look into it for you, try to find out where exactly your problem is or your separation is, because that will definitely affect how you go about fixing it. So if you have any questions, of course, send me a message, reach out, mindfulpilatesandwellness.com. I love working one-on-one with folks in small group settings as well. I know this can be complicated and overwhelming at some points, but it's really work that is easy to do once you know the right tools. So thank you so much for taking the time to watch.
Let's train your core. Check out mindfulpilatesandwellness.com, Mom Strong Core to Floor today.